What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Jay and I'm an American expat currently living here in Dominican Republic. I quit my job back in 2020 and moved my family from the United States over here to Dominican Republic. And today I want to talk to you guys about a topic that I get asked about all the time. So if you're moving here with kids, you don't want to miss this particular video. And that topic is education. We're going to be talking about public and private schools here in Dominican Republic and what you need to know as an expat parent here, the pros and cons of each, from cost and quality to culture and curriculum. I'm going to be breaking it all down so you can make the right choice for your family. So whether you're planning to move or you're already here trying to navigate the school scene, this episode is for you and it's going to give you the clarity that you need. So let's get into it. In Dominican Republic, the education system is divided into public and private schools. Public schools are government funded and free for Dominican citizens. Private schools include local private institutions and international schools, where most of them charge a tuition. Schooling here in Dominican Republic is mandatory from age 5 through 14, and the school year typically runs from August to June. But here's the deal. There's a huge difference between the public school and the private school experience. And if you're an expat coming from the United States, Canada, or even Europe, those differences can be really noticeable. But as an expat, your decision on whether you're going to put your child in a public school or a private school hinges on whether you have the budget for it, your child's language skills, and how long you're actually planning to stay in the country. So let's first start off with public schools. Remember, public schools are free. If you send your child to a public school, they will be fully immersed in Dominican culture and the language. But here's the reality in most public schools. The classrooms are overcrowded, they have limited teaching materials, and sometimes the teaching quality can vary. And if your child doesn't speak Spanish, the adjustment to this environment can be really tough, unless you supplement heavily at home, meaning you help them or you get them tutors. So now let's sum up the pros of a public school. We already talked about one, they're free. The next one is your child will be fully immersed in the Dominican culture and the language. And also, public schools may offer a more authentic local experience versus a private school. So let's talk about some of the cons of a public school, which we've mentioned some of those. Classrooms are overcrowded, limited resources like lack of air conditioner, lack of books or updated materials. Your child can receive less individualized attention, and the quality of these public schools vary depending on location. So some of the things I mentioned as cons can probably be even worse depending on the location. And in the public school, most classes are taught in Spanish and most of the staff are not bilingual. So if your child doesn't already speak Spanish, going to a public school can be a tough adjustment, academically and emotionally. So that's something to think about. However, it can work, especially if you're planning on staying long term and you want your child to be deeply integrated in Dominican society. But just be prepared to offer that child extra academic and emotional support at home. So now let's talk about private schools, and this is where most expats turn to when they're looking to put their kids in the education system here in Dominican Republic. Now, these private schools can range from affordable local bilingual schools all the way up to high-end academies like Carol Morgan and St. George. So there are two types of private schools. There are local private schools and there are international private schools. Because I know some people think when we talk about private schools, we're talking about all international schools, and that's not true. There are local private schools that you can send your child to that are less costly versus to the international academies that are way more expensive. So what are the pros of sending your child to a private school? Smaller class sizes, higher academic standards, more extracurricular activities. Many of these schools offer bilingual or full English instructions, and a lot of the time these schools have advanced facilities and resources. So what are the cons of a private school? And number one is you have to pay. They're not free. Tuition can range from $150 a month all the way up to $1,000 a month per child. So as I was saying, there are affordable private schools that you can send your kid to without breaking the bank. And to be honest, I've heard some private schools or as low as 2,000 pesos a month for a private school. And another con for a private school is the admissions can be competitive. So that means everybody doesn't get in. But I couldn't imagine this being the case in local private schools, but I see it being the case in some of the higher international academies. But again, I can be wrong. Another con is that some of these schools follow a Dominican curriculum, while others may follow an American, British, or IB program. And lastly, another con is uniform and supplies are at an additional cost, meaning you have to pay for the uniform and you have to buy all the supplies. And one good thing about these private schools, especially the international schools, is that they have a strong expat and international student presence, which can make the transition for your child a lot smoother, meaning that the classrooms are not filled with only Dominican students, that you will find students from all over the world from other countries. And typically your child will get more individualized attention. And also, if their Spanish is limited, they're able to communicate with the teacher. So how do you choose? When choosing a school here, it's not all about whether it's public or private, which that is key, but mostly about fit. How does this particular school fit your situation? So here's some questions you need to ask. Do we plan to stay long or short term? Is full Spanish immersion important? Or do we want to follow an English-based curriculum? A big one is, what is your budget for school-related expenses? Does the school offer support for non-Spanish speaking children? And is the school close to where we'll be living? Those are some of the questions that you need to ask yourself when you start to decide what school I want my child to attend. Here are some of my recommendations. Visit the school in person, talk to some other expat parents, ask about teacher qualification, discipline style, academic performance, and also how do they support emotional health. So when you start researching these schools, here are some other questions I think you should also ask. What curriculum is being taught? Is it a Dominican curriculum or is it an American curriculum? This is an important question because I know people come to me and they say, I want my child to go to a private school in Dominican Republic, but I also want them to be able to attend college in the United States. If they choose, would they be able to go to college based on the curriculum they're being taught here in Dominican Republic? So that's a great question to ask. You also want to know the language of the instructor. Are there extracurricular activities that they offer? How much is the tuition? Is that everything included? Will there be any extra things that you'll need to add to that tuition? That's a big question. What is that school's reputation among locals? That's a great question to ask. So I know you're probably asking me, what's my experience and what are my thoughts? Well, I don't have experience in terms of having a child in school here in Dominican Republic because my daughter takes classes online. So she is not in the Dominican education system here. But I know people who have their kids here in Dominican schools. They love it. They're satisfied with the curriculum. They're satisfied with the teachers. They're satisfied with pretty much everything that the school offers. I personally haven't heard anybody complain about the school system here in Dominican Republic that I know. So that is my experience. So yes, as a parent, as a child, you can have success here in the Dominican school system. However, it really depends on your child's need, your flexibility, and your long-term goals. But remember, no school is perfect, but being informed helps you ask the right question and it prepares your child for the best possible experience. So should you choose public or private schools? And I'm gonna tell you this, there is no one-size-fits-all answer. The key is to be informed, remember, visit the school, and trust what feels right for you and your family. Because as an expat with kids, this will be one of the biggest decisions you will make because it affects your child's happiness, your schedule, your budget, and even where you live. Take your time, ask the hard questions, and trust your gut. Now, if you've already chosen a school here, leave it in the comment section below. I'd like to know what school you chose and what your experience has been like. And guys, I'm gonna create a free downloadable checklist in the video description below so you guys can download it, and that can be your checklist as you prepare your move to DR and researching schools to find out which one will be best for you. And guys, also, I have a new weekly newsletter that I want you guys to sign up to. It's called Live Your Best Life Newsletter. I'm gonna leave that link in the video description below. Check it out if you're into money, living abroad, and personal development. So you definitely want to be a part of this newsletter. So guys, remember, always keep your goals at the forefront of your mind. Always live in the present, because that's the only way you're gonna live your best life. And I'm out. Peace.
Je begon aan mijn best life, yeah. Je begon aan mijn best life, yeah. Something you and me, oh. Je begon aan mijn best life, yeah. Jumping, flexing,